Tolkien's quotes are not as frequent nor as scandalous as that of Lewis's, which does not mean that Tolkien was a Bible believer by any stretch of the imagination. In the previous chapter, we saw how his beliefs in reincarnation and emphasis on Nordic paganism is nowhere found within the Bible, but the Bible itself would not be Tolkien's final authority. Tolkien's affiliation with Catholicism would make him loyal to three different authorities: the papacy/clergy, tradition, and even the Bible. With these three different sources of alleged revelation within the Catholic Church, this makes things harder to point to a final answer on any given subject. Take, for example, evolution. This is an idea that Catholics have gone against, but not all. To paraphrase Tolkien, he recognized that there were simple and uneducated Catholics who have ignorantly believed in evolution, and have tucked Genesis into a lumber room of their mind as not very fashionable furniture. And yet he said that he did not feel ashamed of what he called the Eden myth, despite not believing that it had the same historicity as the New Testament. While there are many quotes throughout Catholic tradition that defend the historicity of the creation account of Genesis, like the Council of Trent Session 5 Canon 1, or Pope Pius XII and Humani Generis, other popes like Pope John Paul II didn't seem to protest against the theory of natural selection. On October 22, 1996, his message to the Pontifical Academy of Sciences on evolution, he said, "Today, more than half a century after the appearance of that encyclical, some new findings lead us toward the recognition of evolution as more than a hypothesis. Indeed, it is remarkable that this theory has been progressively accepted by researchers following a series of discoveries in various fields of knowledge. The Church's magisterium is directly concerned with the question of evolution, for it involves the conception of man. Revelation teaches us that he was created in the image and likeness of God. However, if the human body takes its origin from pre-existent living matter, the spiritual soul is immediately created by God. A theory is a meta-scientific elaboration, distinct from the results of observation but consistent with them. By virtue of its methodological character, the theory of evolution, when considered in relation to the realities of life, points to a greater understanding of the complex structures of existence." Whether Catholics want to acknowledge it or not, their church is not consistent with all their authorities. Yet this has not stopped the Roman Catholic system from claiming power above the scriptures. Here are some quotes from councils, catechisms, and popes to demonstrate how the Catholic Church does not encourage its followers to read and interpret the Bible for themselves. "No one relying on his own skill shall, in matters of faith and of morals pertaining to the edification of Christian doctrine, resting the sacred scripture to his own senses, presume to interpret the said sacred scriptures contrary to that sense which Holy Mother Church has held and does hold." As a result, the Church, to whom the transmission and interpretation of revelation is entrusted, does not derive her certainty about all revealed truths from the Holy Scriptures alone. Both scripture and tradition must be accepted and honored with equal sentiments of devotion and reverence. But first it must be clearly understood whom we have to oppose and contend against, and what are their tactics and their arms. In earlier times, the contest was chiefly with those who, relying on private judgment and repudiating the divine traditions and teaching office of the Church, held the Scriptures to be the one source of revelation and the final appeal in matters of faith. The fundamentalist approach is dangerous, for it is attractive to people who look to the Bible for ready answers to the problems of life. It can deceive these people, offering them interpretations that are pious but illusory, instead of telling them that the Bible does not necessarily contain an immediate answer to each and every problem. Without saying as much in so many words, fundamentalism actually invites people to a kind of intellectual suicide. It injects into life a false certitude, for it unwittingly confuses the divine substance of the biblical message with what are in fact its human limitations. When it comes to Tolkien, his thoughts and concerns about the Bible should be seen through a Catholic lens. Tolkien would have been cautious about turning to the Scriptures and would have recognized its ability to cause division, which would have been at odds with a unified Catholic Church that Tolkien envisioned. He had little to no respect for the Protestant movement, and it is undeniable that the Bible played a role in that. When it comes to the Scriptures, both of these writers were not overly enthusiastic concerning its doctrines or those who seek for personal guidance from the book itself. Lewis repeatedly and openly attacked the Bible, while Tolkien was not as outgoing. But with the fact that they were such close friends, makes it hard to see how they could have gotten along so well if they had not agreed to some extent. Perhaps Tolkien, in his own personal way, even through the narratives of his fantasy novels, expressed his true feelings for the Bible in a way that was symbolic. In other words, in a way that was more subtle.